Hello, and welcome to this walkthrough video for the banjo. First, let's do a quick overview. The banjo loads up ready to play with articulations easily triggered by key velocity, key switches, or both. We have auto harmony. This is the picker, a kind of arpeggiator that creates banjo rolls for any chords you play. The strum feature allows you to play single down and up strums for any chord you hold. Down strums and up strums. The trigger keys are duplicated above and below the main playing area. I prefer to hold the chords with my left hand and strum with my right. This works really well for simple backing parts. The main screen has controls for key velocity mapping of articulations. The mix screen lets you select which mic or mics you're hearing, plus a simple mixing board. The settings screen lets you tweak articulations, choose key switches, and change global settings. Back to the main screen. Let's look at the velocity articulation controls first. There are 3 key velocity zones. Right now we have mutes in the low velocity range, sustains in the middle range, and hammer-ons in the high range. Change the split points by dragging these handles. You can now assign any articulation to any velocity zone by clicking on its icon, which displays the choices. You can turn off the high and low zones, which leaves a single articulation. Let's go through the articulations. Besides sustains, we have a quick slide, hammer-ons. By the way, you can set the note values for these in the settings screen. Also, the master key determines the intervals played here. Pull-offs. Grace note up slides, like the hammer-on but with a short slide. Grace note down slides, like the pull-off but with a slide. An up trill. Down trill. Mutes. And tremolo. Let's put things back to default settings. All of these articulations can be triggered by key switches, so you can mix things up real time. You'll notice that I added some auto harmony there. You can either latch the auto harmony on with this button or use a key switch just when you need it. There are different styles or interval choices for the harmony. I just leave this on bluegrass. Master key controls the key of the harmony notes as well as the intervals played in the articulations. For instance, a hammer-on might be a whole or half step depending on the master key. Okay, let's look at the picker. The picker is an arpeggiator that plays banjo rolls of whatever chord you play. Just play a 3, 4, or 5 note chord, and off it goes. The pattern changes depending on how many notes are in the chord. There are several patterns to choose from. You can use the sustain pedal to hold chords, which makes changing chords much easier. Also, you'll notice that I don't move my pinky finger much. Banjo players will use that shorter fifth string as a kind of pedal note, usually tuned to G. It really helps the realism to hold that high note through as many chord changes as you can. The picker will not trigger its pattern unless you play at least a 3-note chord. You'll notice that I hit a C2, which is highlighted in green, at the end of that pattern. This triggers a single strum of whatever chord you were just holding. This controls the note resolution of the picker. Strength changes the velocity of the pattern. Overlap controls the length of the individual notes, or how much they overlap. Let's look at the mixing screen. To capture the sound of the banjo, we use 2 mics in this configuration, which is a classic method for recording guitars, and the chosen setup of a famous banjo player who gets a great sound. Mic 1 is a large diaphragm condenser aimed at the lower rim of the body, and mic 2 is a small diaphragm condenser aimed at the point where the neck meets the body. You can use both mics and hard pan them for a wide stereo sound. Or just use one of them for a more focused sound. There are level and pan controls for each mic. There are controls for reverb. Room adds an impulse response made of the recording room here at Indiginus and sounds much like a separate set of room mics. Shine is an EQ that adds high-end presence. Well, thank you for taking the time to check out the banjo from Indiginus. The banjo is only available at our website, indiginus.com.